Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhare Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhare Yashodanandana Prajajanarandana Yashodanandana Prajajanarandana Yamunatira Vanachare Yamunatira Vanachare Madhava Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya So I don't know how many of you know, but there is a devotee by the name of Lila Smriti Devi Dasi who was involved in an accident and she had serious problems. So she's still in the hospital. And she's undergoing surgery. She already had one bit of surgery and she's undergoing another. So we want to pray for her. And we'll ask everyone to chant one Hare Krishna mantra for her. So, together with me, Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Okay, so today I'm going to read from Bhagavad-gita. I'm going to speak about the first verse of the 4th chapter. And that chapter is entitled Transcendental Knowledge. And the gist of this talk is about the parampara. And this is in this place here, the parampara was introduced. So the person who introduced the parampara is Krishna himself. So it's not something that's made up by any group of devotees. It is actually given by the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself. So let me read that. Okay, so it's Bhagavad-gita 4.1. Sri Bhagavan Uvacha
Sri Bhagavan Vacha,
Imam Vivaspate Yogam
Manvivamsate
Ruktavan Aham Avyayam
Ruktavanamavyayam,
Vivasvan Manave Praha
Yasvan Maname Praha,
Manur Ikshvakave Brabhet.
Manur Ikshvakave Bhavet.
The translation is, the personality of God, our Lord Sri Krishna said, I instructed this imperishable science of yoga to the sun god, Vivasvan, and Vivasvan instructed it to Manu, the father of mankind, and Manu in turn instructed it to Ikshvaku. Purport. Here we find the theory of the Bhagavad-gita traced from a remote time when it was delivered to the royal order of all planets, beginning from the sun planet. The king of all planets are especially meant for the protection of the inhabitants, and therefore the royal order should be understood, should understand the science of Bhagavad-gita in order to be able to rule the citizens and protect them from material bondage to lust. Human life is meant for cultivation of spiritual knowledge in eternal relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And the executive heads of all states and all planets are obliged to impart this lesson to the citizens by education, culture, and devotion. In other words, the executive heads of all states are intended to spread the science of Krishna consciousness so that the people may take advantage of this great science and pursue a successful path, utilizing the opportunity of the human life. In this millennium, the sun god is known as Vivasvan, the king of the sun, which is the origin of all planets within the solar system. In the Brahma Samhita 552 it is stated, Yat Chakshur Eva Sadita Sakala Grahanam Raja Samasta Siramurti Vasesha Teja Yasya Jaya Brahmati Samrita Kala Chakro Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. Let me worship, Lord Brahma said, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Govinda, Krishna, who is the original person and under whose order the sun, which is the king of all planets, is assuming immense power and heat. The sun represents the eye of the Lord and traverses its orbit in obedience to his order. The sun is the king of all planets, and the sun god at the present of the name Vivasvan, rules the sun planet, which is controlling all other planets by supplying heat and light. He is rotating under the order of Krishna, and Lord Krishna originally made Vivasvan his first disciple to understand the science of Bhagavad-gita. The Gita is not, therefore, a speculative treatise for the insignificant mundane scholar, but it is a standard book of knowledge coming down from time immemorial. In the Mahabharata, Shantiparva 348, 51, 52, we can trace out the history of the Gita as follows. Treta Yugadau Chatato Vivasvan Manadedadau Manascha Loka Vrittiyartam Sutta Yeksha Vakitsvakave Dadau Ishva Kunacha Katito Vyapya Loka Navashita. In the beginning of the millennium known as Treta Yuga, the science of the relationship with the Supreme was delivered to Vivasvan by Vivasvan to Manu. Manu, being the father of mankind, gave it to his son Maharaj Ikshvaku, the king of the earth planet, and the forefather of the Raghu dynasty in which Lord Ramachandra appeared. Therefore, Bhagavad-gita existed in human society from the time of Maharaj Ikshvaku. So at the present moment, we have just passed through 5,000 years of the Kali Yuga, which lasts 432,000 years. Before this, there was Dwapara Yuga, 800,000 years, and before that, there was Treta Yuga, 1,200,000 years. Thus, some 2,005,000 years ago, Manu spoke the Bhagavad-gita to his disciple and his son, Maharaj Ikshvaku, the king of this planet Earth. The age of the current Manu is calculated to last some 305,300,000 years, of which 120,400,000 have passed. Accepting that before the birth of Manu, the Gita was spoken by the Lord to the disciple, the sun god Vivasvan. A rough estimate is that the Gita was spoken at least 120,400,000 years ago, and in human society has been extant for 2 million years. It was re-spoken by the Lord again to Arjuna about 5,000 years ago. That is a rough estimate of the history of the Gita according to the Gita itself, and according to the version of the speaker, Lord Sri Krishna. It was spoken to the sun god Vivasvan, because he is also a Kshatriya, and is the father of all Kshatriyas, who are descendants of the sun god, or the Surya Vamsa Kshatriyas. Because Bhagavad-gita is as good as the Vedas, being spoken by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, this knowledge is apurvishaya, superhuman. Since the Vedic instructions are accepted as they are, without human interpretation, the Gita must therefore be accepted without mundane interpretation. The mundane wranglers speculate on the Gita in their own ways, but that is not Bhagavad-gita as it is. Therefore, Bhagavad-gita has to be accepted as it is from the disciplic succession, and it is described herein that the Lord spoke to the sun god, and the sun god spoke to his son Manu, and Manu spoke to his son Ikshvaku. So, the translation again is the personality of Godhead. Lord Sri Krishna said, I instructed the impartial science of yoga to the sun god, and Vivasvan instructed it to Manu, the father of mankind, and Manu in turn instructed it to Ikshvaku. So here we are hearing that Bhagavad-gita was spoken so long ago, and it was originally spoken by the Supreme Lord himself. So we find that in later times, many people were commenting on the Bhagavad-gita, translating the Bhagavad-gita, and giving their own interpretation. And here, Prabhupada warns, and this is the warning of Krishna also, that we should not speculate on the meaning of the Gita, but we should accept it as per the disciplic succession. Now, what is this disciplic succession? We heard that it came from Krishna to, down to Ikshvaku. And this is the disciplic succession coming down. So this knowledge is being repeated as time goes by. Now, the reason for this knowledge being repeated is that in course of time, everyone forgets. So that's the lineage of Bhagavad-gita's knowledge. So it's divine transmission because it comes directly from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And Krishna initially shared that with the Sun God, who passed it to Manu and then to Ikshvaku. He was the first king of the solar dynasty. So Krishna says again, I spoke the central chants of yoga to the Sun God Devaswan, and Devaswan taught it to Manu, and Manu taught it to Ikshvaku. So the Gita's teachings have been passed on through the ages in an unbroken chain, ensuring their authenticity. So, what's the purpose of the Bhagavad-gita? Why was it spoken? The purpose of the Gita's transmission to rulers, because he spoke it to the Sun God, is that rulers have this task of protecting the citizens and guiding them spiritually. And how they do it, they utilize the Bhagavad-gita's teachings. In that way, they get led to liberation. And so you find that when people act like that, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, whatever action a great man performs, common men follow. So we look up to these great personalities. So sometimes we think, well, we don't see those personalities anymore. Where are they now? But the disciple succession is continuing, and it is being brought to us directly in this age via Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his disciples. For us, it's brought through Srila Prabhupada, who got it from his guru, or Krishnanta Saraswati Thakur, who got the information from his guru, Professor Das Babaji, and he got the inspiration from his father, Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So this knowledge is being brought down. It's not manufactured at any point in time. We have other scriptures, and they can't say that it was brought down in succession in the way the Gita is brought down in succession. Which is why there's so much speculation. Mind you, there's also speculation in Hinduism. But the knowledge Krishna himself presented, there's no speculation there. So if we take the Bhagavad-gita as it is, and we study the Bhagavad-gita, in this case we are studying the translation given by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, because he is in the disciple section, and that makes it worthwhile to study that Bhagavad-gita. And you find that by studying the Bhagavad-gita, what happens is we understand spiritual knowledge. We understand the spirit soul. We understand the purpose of the human form of life. That knowledge is not given anywhere. Prabhupada says there are many, many universities, but which one of them is teaching the science of the soul? Which one is teaching knowledge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead? In fact, now they are saying that, you can't force anyone to follow any particular religion. So it's making it more and more difficult for us to understand it. But fortunately, we have the Bhagavad-gita as given by Srila Prabhupada. And also what we have is the association of devotees who have taken this Bhagavad-gita, made it their life and soul, distributing this book and following the principles. So whatever great man does, common men follow. So we find it easy to become free from suffering and free from material pain by following the scriptures, Bhagavad-gita. There are three ways in which we can follow it. One is Guru, the other one is Sadhu, and the other one is Shastra. So we can take the words of the Guru, the spiritual master, or we can also take the words of the sadhus who are practicing. So the Guru is the Diksha Guru, and then there's a Shiksha Guru who are the sadhus. And then it has to be in line with the Shastra. So if it's not in line with the Shastra, there is misunderstanding about the information in the Bhagavad-gita. So basically, we said that Gita is the divine source, right? And it is actually non-human knowledge. It's spiritual knowledge. That's the difference between what is given by Parampara. It is real knowledge, but it's above the speculation of the human mind. Because as human beings, we have four kinds of frailties. One of them is to cheat. One is we have imperfect senses. So these things here, they deter us from understanding the real truth of the Bhagavad-gita. And so devotees and friends, Krishna, he actually reveals this to Arjuna. And he says, because you're my friend as well as my devotee. So the secret in understanding Bhagavad-gita is to be close to the Lord, a friend of the devotees and dear to the Supreme Lord. In that way we can understand it. And the understanding comes not from our brain or our intellect, it comes in the heart. This knowledge changes the heart of the living being. By changing the heart, his behavior and his outlook is changed. Then he can give this knowledge to others because this knowledge is heartfelt. And in that way, we can benefit other people with this knowledge. Now, it doesn't mean that we have to be great devotees in order to give this knowledge. We can simply point it out to others. In fact, there was a devotee giving a class in Mayapur, and he was saying that once someone touches a book in Krishna consciousness, he gets a better birth in his next life, just by touching the book. So, this is so important to connect with this knowledge of the Gita, with this knowledge that's given in Parampara about the spirit soul, about the human form of life, the purpose of the human form of life. So with this, everyone should become happy and joyful. So we can understand that in order to properly understand it, like I said before, you have to go through the discipleship session. And so starting from Arjuna. And this supreme science was thus received through the chain of disciplic succession, and the saintly kings understood it in that way. In the time of Lord Ramachandra, everyone was completely happy, completely satisfied, and following Vedic principles. And you know what? In the time of Lord Ramachandra, if you didn't want to die, you didn't have to die. So this is the kind of leadership that we want. This is the kind of leadership that we're looking for. Unfortunately, because of the age of Kali, that leadership has deteriorated. And in fact, even at the time of Krishna, there are many demoniac kings also. So, because of the age of Kali, you notice this knowledge is going down. And Krishna came because this knowledge was being lost, and he came to refresh it. Krishna actually comes for the pleasure of his devotees. He comes to make them happy, make them satisfied by his presence. And then he annihilates the demons. and then he gives this knowledge. So his first thing is when he comes to make his devotees happy, satisfied, and peaceful. But the only way we can do it is to understand this knowledge. So all of these rolled in one will give us the right direction. And by that direction, we can actually become happy and satisfied. So the devotees actually have this understanding that only those who accept Krishna as the Supreme can truly understand the Gita. So, in some places, I've read some translations of the Bhagavad-gita, whereby the commentators didn't know how to explain some verses. They said, we don't know what the meaning of this verse is. But yet, Srila Prabhupada is giving us the Bhagavad-gita and is explaining each and every verse in the Bhagavad-gita and giving commentary on each and every verse to make it clearer. The early devotees who came, they came because they had some interest in spiritual life. And a lot of them thought that spiritual life could be achieved by taking drugs. Because they get to that high stage, they rise above everything else. So there was a flyer that was put out in the early days. It said, stay high forever. Staying high forever means being engaged in Krishna consciousness. So that's the way to rise above the mundane, difficult situation. Our life in this world is eating, sleeping, mating, and defending, and then there's suffering also. But why would we stay in a situation like that? Because we get a tiny bit of pleasure every now and then. And for that tiny bit of pleasure, we are sacrificing the human form of life. So you find that not many people know about the presence of the spirit soul. Not many people know that that's the actual person. They're thinking that this body is the actual person. You know, I'm American, I'm Indian. They think like that. But the thing about it is that we are neither American nor Indian because at the time of death, we have no claim to anything. During the war between Pakistan and India, soldiers on either side were killed and their bodies were lying there. Prabhupada says, so what's the purpose of being Hindu or Muslim? There's no difference. They're all lying there, they're all there. So the thing about it is that we have to understand via the Bhagavad-gita what's the reality of this life. We have to understand the spirit soul. And in order to understand the spirit soul or the Jivatma, we have to take that knowledge from someone who understands it. We can't go on the internet and search for a book, buy it on Amazon and read it. But these days you can search the Bhagavad-gita, buy it on Amazon and you can read it. So the thing about it is that we are searching for knowledge, but we are searching for it in all the wrong places. And secondly, for all the wrong reasons. So most people, they want to be happy and satisfied. They want a nice house, a nice car, a nice family, good relatives, living in an upscale area. These are the things they work for. They spend their entire life working for that. And at the time of death, most of them think, what was I doing? What was I doing all this time? So it's really important to get this knowledge via the disciple succession or the parampara. And by getting this knowledge via the parampara, we can still live our lives as we were living them before. But we have a different reason for living our lives. That means we will change some things, like we become vegetarian. We don't kill animals just for our pleasure. And, we follow the four regulative principles. So in that way, what happens is we change some things, but we still go to work every day. We still study. We still want to get a degree or a PhD. We still do that. We still want to buy a nice house in a nice area, drive a nice car. We still want to do all these things. But we have to temper that activity with Krishna conscious activity, with the chanting of the holy names, with service to the Supreme Lord. And how we can do that is we make friends with the devotees. That's the secret of getting this knowledge, making friends with the devotees of the Lord. So any topic you want to study, any endeavor you want to be engaged in, you look for the people who are doing that. So most of the big businesses, they have, all these get-togethers, and they speak to one another. They have like a class, a lecture, and they talk about it. They sit down and they eat with one another and they talk about it, and they help one another. How we can help ourselves is by taking shelter of the devotees of the Supreme Lord. And by doing that, we can become happy, satisfied, peaceful, and we can get the determination to chant the holy name, to follow the regulative principles, to engage in devotional service, to assist the preaching of this Krishna consciousness movement. We can do all of that together with what we are doing presently. That means we are gilding our lives with Krishna consciousness. We are making it useful. And at the point in time when we are completely satisfied, we can do it completely, engage completely in Krishna consciousness. So you find that this is the only way to be happy in this world, by taking this knowledge of devotional service in Krishna consciousness, Bhakti Yoga. It's really the only way to become happy. The happiness that we experience in this world is a taste of maybe some nice food, some nice clothes, a nice car. That's the happiness we get in this world. But the happiness that comes from Krishna consciousness fills our heart with love for the Supreme Lord and for each and every living entity. So, why would we not want that? Why would we want to stay on a lower level? We can ask ourselves that question and see if we can defeat it by logical argument, saying, well, okay, my life is good as it is, and I'm happy, to be running after economic development. I'm happy to be doing that. But each and every time there is difficulty, there is unhappiness, there is, let down, each and every time. With Krishna consciousness practice, the Bhakti Yoga, the chanting of the holy names, there's no let down. It's always increasing. So it's like you're putting your money in the bank and you're getting interest on it, or you invest your money and you get interest. Here, what you do is you invest your life's activities in the service of the Supreme Lord. Simple. It's as easy as chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. It's not difficult. It's really and truly very, very easy. But we have to become convinced. So, in order to become convinced, we come to the association of devotees of the Lord, and in that way, we can get the right direction in our lives. Now, we have all of this to our advantage. In this day and age, we can listen to a lecture that they speak in Mayapur. Tonight you can hear the Bhagavad-gita Class in Mayapur. You can hear the Bhagavad-gita Class in Alachua. You can hear the Bhagavad-gita Class here. You can get advantage through that opportunity to understand the spiritual science. And it's that simple. It's really, really very simple. That association, it grows and it grows and it grows. And by the time we know it, our hearts are so happy and satisfied, so full with love for the Supreme Lord and for everyone else around us that we want to go with before. There was a devotee in New York. He was giving a class, and he was asked a few questions. And one question he asked is that how can we not criticize others? How can we, relatively understand everyone else? And when can we criticize if we can criticize? So the normal person shouldn't criticize. If you see something wrong, you can report it to the authority. But if you see something wrong and you find yourself wanting to criticize, take a look back at yourself. When you point the finger, there are three fingers pointing back at you. So just remember, we have to examine ourselves at all times and try to understand what's the best thing for us to do. So that way we can actually not criticize, but we can actually try to assist everyone. Give them the opportunity to hear about Krishna. Give them the opportunity to chant the holy name. And not everyone is going to accept it. Not everyone is going to accept it. So Prabhupada had a secret weapon, prasadam. Prasadam, he said, is the secret weapon of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. So you can cook your stuff, you can offer it to Krishna, you can give your neighbor some. They can get prasadam, and that will begin their journey in Krishna consciousness. So it's really and truly very simple. But we have to get the incentive. And the way to get the incentive is to have this knowledge come into our hearts and fill our hearts with that loving embrace of the Supreme Lord and that loving compassion for each and every living entity. So we want to do that as much as we can. And in this age, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came and gave us the secret rule. Harinam, Harinam, Harinamaiva Kevalam, Kalau Nashteva, 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 Gatiranita. Just the chanting of the holy name. He said, there is no other way, no other way, no other way than the chanting of the holy name in this age of Christ. And we are immersed in the age of Christ. We can see it. You see there are so many difficulties, so many storms, so many, bad things happening. If you look at the news every day, you will see. You can write them down every day, and tomorrow there's a whole list again. And it keeps on happening. It's happening to everyone. The reason is that they're not embracing knowledge of the Supreme Lord. That's the whole reason. Because in this world, what we're trying to do is we're trying to play that we are in control. We put ourselves in the top position. This life is about me. And we lose the intelligence of the life is about Krishna, the personality of Christ. So, I want to stop here and ask a question. If anyone has any questions, if anyone disagrees with what I say, or if one wants to reinforce what I say. Go ahead.
According to the story, we're saying the origin of language. In this part of our history, we don't have we use it back, we don't have any way of scientific data. You basic language that was first that was spoken according to the science found. One of them was the Sumerians dating back 5,000 years ago. Followed by the Egyptians, which were 4,000 years ago. Further down the list, the Sanskrit came about. On top of that, the Sumerian language is first spoken in our region. And then the Egyptians followed. Now, my question is, those people, which is part of the language. We are thinking using the language. Thinking in the language because of that. Now, how do you think without the system?
I think we just went through a whole talk on this, right? And it's not thinking, because thinking is part of the human strategy of understanding things. This is non-human knowledge. This is what we should be concerned with, because we can get many, many different ideas. You heard about the dinosaurs, right? Has anyone ever seen a dinosaur? Is there one left? Is there one? Not fossils, not fossils. Has anyone seen a dinosaur? Is there anyone left that escaped this, the death and, came through? This knowledge is given to the sun god Vishnu. It was said like 300 million years ago, right? What language do you think Krishna spoke in?
I'm trying to get to the point is that what we know about history, human history, the first language that is spoken.
That's the thing. We're trying to get out of the human history, out of the human knowledge, and get to the spiritual knowledge.
We have to start thinking.
This is where we start, through the parampara, through the disciple succession. We start via the disciple succession. This is knowledge that's coming down unbroken. This knowledge is coming unbroken. We don't have to speculate on it.
So we appears to be that somewhere on the line it is lost.
That's exactly what we're talking about.
Somewhere on the line it is lost. But now how do we get back? Came back to
5,000 years ago.
5,000 years before Christ, that this language was spoken again. But before that period, the Sumerians and the Egyptians were existing. That's my point. How does it happen, the transition? Why did you decide to give was found.
The Sanskrit actually came before. It actually came before.
Why is that? Why did the previous one was the first person to investigate to know about Bhagavad-gita?
I'm sorry, say that one more time.
You said he was one of the first listeners of Bhagavad-gita.
He was the first disciple of Krishna. Yeah.
Why did he created today and was a major on the trial being already instructed on acting without getting.
Well, I think you know the answer to that. You probably have read that also. You know the answer to that. The answer to that is that it's all the arrangement of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Okay? In the case of that, it was a gift given to her, and she was allowed to use the gift. I'm sorry? So, what are you trying to say? Vivaswan didn't know what he was doing?
Why he did that if he was an example of Bhagavad-gita?
I'm sorry, say again? Go right ahead. Well, the king was Pandu. All right. So can we hold on that for a while? You want to say something?
That's what he was talking about. The only record we have is written by Jiva Goswami is the Parina Yadana and his grandma is very soon that say Narayana Kantoja Pata. The sound of the sun came out from the mouth of Narayana. So we could read of it. Now we're talking about the written and written. So the written record, so written record it's an aspect of the elevation of human society. By the time people could not memorize everything they heard, they have the necessity to that. So that you can present to the because for the Sanskrit was not a written language. It was a spoken language, it was a language of God. The written language we have in Sanskrit is Sanskrit was not written, so there was no spoken language.
They were all shruti hard. They remembered everything they heard.
Every culture in India wrote Sanskrit in the alphabet. It's like, for example, we see the verse before, it's written in Roman characters. So the written Sanskrit did not exist. That was a convenient later on. Actually, it was a very old text. You find Sanskrit written in alphabet. There was no alphabet. So if you come sometime, people can again, okay, let's use this alphabet. They use they take this Devanagari. Devanagari, for example, is
All right, so that answers your question. That Sanskrit is actually the first knowledge. It's the one that Krishna spoke. Right? All right, so let's get back to the topic. The topic is the knowledge coming from the disciplic succession, which purifies the heart and makes us happy and satisfied, which takes us away from material suffering. So that's basically what it is. That knowledge is what Krishna gave, and he came and he gave it again. Because Arjuna was saying, well, Vivaswan was senior in birth to you. He says, no. He was there all the time, right? He doesn't change his body. He is not born, or he doesn't die. He is the Supreme Personality of Godhead at all times. So he can give that knowledge so far back in Treta Yuga, right? And we can get it now. But that knowledge is permanent. It's past that time. We're getting a synopsis here about how this is coming down. So it's coming down all the time. In Satyug, you think anybody didn't know the science of Bhagavad-gita? There's no way that they didn't know it. All right? So we have to make the effort to understand this, to purify our hearts, and to take to the right path, and definitely try to become happy in this world and give that happiness to others. We're not giving them doubt, we're giving them happiness, peace, and good satisfaction. So I think we can stop here and have a prasad. Yeah. Okay, we're finishing. Sure, Prabhupada. But you can ask it. I'll come over.
Stick to your topic, you know, the dragging away with the question, you know? Right. They did not stick to your topic. You give them the topic, what they love. You give the knowledge to the sun god, and that's it. You know that's what we're talking about. This is a big success. No problem to get good and understand it. You know?
So maybe you ask your question.